All right,
Oh,
so I think we are ready to start. Thank you, everyone, for joining this webinar titled Sustainable Building Cultures, a Cross-Disciplinary Reflection from Japan. Today, I'm Leila Joutet, I'm part of the Swissnex in Japan team, and I'll introduce you to our esteemed speaker today, who is Professor Dr. Oya Atalay Franck, Dean and Managing Director of the School of Architecture, Design, and Civil Engineering, and also a member of the executive board at the Zurich University of Applied Sciences, ZHAW, and I will leave the floor to her for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Laila, and thank you very much, Swissnex and ZHAW Staff Exchange. Good morning and good afternoon.
good afternoon.
This presentation shares first insights and reflections from an ongoing sabbatical visit to Japan that explores how architecture, policy, education intersect in the pursuit of sustainability and circularity. Through visits to universities, research laboratories, and significant architectural works, my research examines how Japanese building culture integrates tradition and innovation, from craftsmanship and materials intelligence to digital design and urban regeneration. So far, I have visited 4 institutions of higher education with 6 campuses. I had conversations with 12 peers. I also visited 6 building sites. Thanks to the hyperfast Shinkansen trains and Japan's exceptional public transportation network, I covered a distance of nearly 1,800 kilometers in less than 2 weeks. In this talk, I want to highlight cross-disciplinary approaches linking design, technology, material sciences, and social sciences, offering the provisional insights I gained into how sustainability can evolve from a technical strategy into a shared cultural mindset. My goal has been to understand how a country with such a tradition in crafts, on one hand, and such a highly developed technological, even futuristic perspective when it comes to architecture and urbanism approaches to the transition to a circular built environment. Why Japan? Japan has long been a country that is both enigmatic and fascinating for us Europeans. Through its urbanity, landscape art, architecture, and ways of thinking about space and life. It is a place where tradition and progress coexist with remarkable strength and where contrasts often become sources of creativity. This distinct mindset, reflective yet forward-looking, highly precise and exact, yet open and experimental, offers the perspective to step outside of our own habits and reflect on what design, culture, and sustainability can mean in the future. So my first institutional meeting started at Kyoto University. Professor Thomas Daniel is a scholar of modernity and contemporary Japanese architecture. We discussed how Japan's architectural education, shaped by innovation, density, and regulation, creates both opportunities and constraints. Professor Daniel emphasized the necessity of understanding a country's institutional framework. This awareness, he argued, must also be carried into pedagogy, encouraging an idealistic approach that enables students and faculty or educators to take informed positions within the architectural discourse. Later in my meetings was next Professor Dimitar Ilnazov of Kyoto University's Graduate School of Advanced Integrated Studies in Human Survivability. His research on innovation policies, sustainability, and energy transition in emerging economies highlights the global dimension of this transformation. His systemic cross and self-disciplinary approach extends sustainability beyond built environment toward policy, economy, and equity, perfectly aligning with my sabbatical's aim to explore circularity across disciplines. My next exploration was Sandwich Inc. This is an architecture firm founded by Kohei Naba, one of Japan's foremost contemporary artists and based in Kyoto. The firm made its name internationally through a series of projects at the intersection of arts and technology. At Sandwich's office, I learned how a different world where artists and architects, while designing, engage also in material research. During our talk, Mr. Naba reflected on how craftsmanship in Japan once carried a natural sense of sustainability. Materials were gained locally, reused, and valued, and how that sensibility has been diluted by today's abundance of technical possibilities. His question is, however, not how to go back to a former better time, but how to recover that essence of care and precision in a contemporary context. At Sandwich, this happens through collective work and experimentation, especially with younger designers and artists. In the Shinsoshi Zen Museum and Gardens near Fukuyama, designed by the office, and which I was able to visit 2 days later, architecture achieves this synthesis. Wood, water, and atmosphere combining in a meditation on reuse and continuity. In Fukuoka, at Kyushu University's Faculty of Design, I met Professor Masaaki Iwamoto, who researches light architecture and innovative use of conventional materials such as wood. His work explores how low-cost structures using bamboo and other sustainable resources, developing forms that require little energy and minimal waste for production and maintenance. He also focuses on community-based projects where students work directly with local residents on small-scale, meaningful interventions, which also is important as an aspect of a sustainable building culture. Professor Iwamoto also has an in-depth expertise in modern and contemporary architecture in broader Asian context, particularly of the 50s and 60s, and of important figures such as Shohei and Van Mollivan. His objective is to evaluate the heritage and examine its possibilities for design today. Professor Iwamoto's work for me is a reminder that circularity concerns not only materials, but also culture and society in general, and should be grounded in engagement and collaboration. Here you can see a photo from Kyushu University of Ohashi campus, where the building of Department of Environmental Design is housed. The campus was largely designed and built by architect Hisao Koyama in the 70s, inspired by Louis Kahn's Salt Institute. A further meeting with Professor Koichiro Aitani offered a broader systemic view. He explained that Japan once lived within a circular culture where repair and reuse were everyday practices, but that much of this was lost through post-war consumerism. But even while large contractors now dominate the building developments, architects still have agency to influence social values and awareness. Professor Aitani, in his explorations, connected sustainability to craft, community, and continuity, linking architectural thinking to social and cultural evolution. At Kindai University, discussions in a different scale evolved. With Professor Masaru Abuku, who is a specialist in building physics, I found out that he collaborates internationally with EMPA Dübendorf and ETH Zurich. His research on heat and moisture transport shows how specific precision and architectural design reinforce one another. The moisture and insulation from water is one of the major challenges in building construction in Japan, even today. Professor Akiko Sugihara, also from Kendai University, presented another layer of circular thinking. She reuses paper waste to create acoustic panels and develops biomimetic plastic surfaces that diffuse sound. Her work demonstrates the sustainability should also incorporate aspects as sensory quality and comfort, connecting technical performance with aesthetic and experimental awareness, and not just economic efficiency. At the Kyoto Design Lab, D-Lab, Professor Daijiro Mizuno, Professor Kunishota, and Irvin Virai described me how the lab bridges academia, industry, and society. Founded in 2014, D-Lab has become a platform for applied and experimental design research. The main themes of D-Lab, circular design, regeneration, sustainability, dynamic heritage, and future systems, show Japan's forward-looking design strategy. They emphasize the importance of international partnerships, in their case particularly with ETH Zurich and OC Mendrisio in Switzerland, but also with industry partners in Japan, such as with Takaneka Corporation, one of the largest building companies in Japan, headquartered in Osaka with overseas offices in Asia, Europe, and United States. We also discussed on the challenge of maintaining educational quality when confronted with a declining student population and the importance of internationalization as well as professional reskilling and lifelong learning as important aspects of social and economical sustainability. D-Lab shows indeed how education, culture, industry can collaborate to advance sustainability. A conversation I had with Professor Kazuki Fukushima, a polymer chemist, took me into the world of biodegradable and upcyclable materials. He studies how polymers can be designed to degrade or regenerate in controlled ways. This meeting was a reminder and a shift in the perspective and the scale that sustainability begins at the molecular level, and that collaboration across architecture, chemistry, and engineering can be an essential aspect for innovation. As an anticipation of a meeting planned for November in Tokyo, I visited the Shimose Art Museum near Hiroshima, designed by Shigeru Ban. Mr. Ban is the winner of the prestigious Pritzker Prize. He also designed highly publicized projects in Switzerland, such as the Tamedia headquarters in Zurich or the Swatch headquarters in Biel. Mr. Ban's architecture combines technical clarity, simplicity with ethical responsibility. This visit reinforced my understanding of sustainability as emerges from empathy, restraint, and precision. The museum's timber and glass structures demonstrate how modest materials used artfully can create lightness and beauty. The Hiroshima Architecture Exhibition 2025, part of the Triennial Festival, was titled Architecture, a New Stance for Tomorrow. It explored architecture through 5 lenses: the ocean, nature, citizenry, landscapes, and the universe, presenting it as organic and interconnected. In this venue, 5 international architect offices from Japan have manifested their positions for the future of architecture. Amid current environmental and social shifts, the exhibition invited visitors to see architecture as wisdom. Wisdom in the visions of these architects, a discipline capable of nurturing culture, enriching lives, and building sustainable futures while respecting the nature. The exhibition also includes a reconstruction of Kenzo Tange's 1953 private residence, linking modern heritage and with present-day challenges. The venue, Shinsoshi Zen Museum and Gardens, was itself a masterclass in design and atmosphere, featuring Terunobu Fujimoto's Shoda Temple office with its thatched roof and of course Kohei Nawa Sandwich Inc.'s Kotei Pavilion, a boat-like form floating above a rust-colored sea of stones. I have mentioned about Taneka Corporation before in Kobe. Takaneka Carpentry Tools Museum offers an in-depth view of Japan's woodcraft heritage. The museum traces the evolution of carpentry from ancient temples to contemporary timber structures. It explores how nature, materials, and construction are interwoven in Japanese culture. The collection at the museum is another reminder that craft, precision, respect for materials form the foundation of sustainability. Companies like Takaneka not only influence construction sector and economy, but also the building culture. Another shift in location and scale brings me back to Osaka. The Grand Green Osaka project. It is one of Japan's most ambitious urban regeneration efforts, led by Mitsubishi Estate, with Nikken Sekai as lead architect and GGN Seattle as landscape designer, and Sana as an architectural contributor. It is to transform the former Osaka Station rail yard into a new mixed-use green district. Integrating offices, housing, public spaces with a vast park, it sets a benchmark for low-carbon, inclusive metropolitan design, showing how urban renewal, ecology, and design excellence can coexist in a dense environment. During one of my journeys to Kyoto, I also visited Nishinoyama House by Kazuya Seijima of Sana, another Pritzker Prize winner. Nishinoyama is a housing complex organized under a single multi-pitched roof. Its design creates shared light-filled spaces that blur the boundaries between interior and exterior. The project redefines collective living and offers a subtle response to urban density, thus being a model of architectural modesty and social innovation. And finally, the Garden of Fine Art, designed by Tadao Ando, is a contemplative open-air museum of concrete, water, and light. It demonstrates Ando's mastery of minimal structure and material clarity, where architecture becomes both space and experience, reinforcing the Japanese ideal of harmony between built form and nature. So, what are my reflections and the synthesis so far? Across these various encounters and visits that I, in this talk, briefly sketched for you, a pattern emerges. In Japan, sustainability is not only technical, it is cultural. It is rooted in a great respect for materials, continuity, and collaboration. Circularity connects tradition and innovation, education and industry, art and science. Sustainability, therefore, becomes a mindset, not just a method. So, the main challenge we face regarding sustainability and circularity is indeed societal. We still live in one-way economy, producing too much of what is not needed and wasting too many valuable resources doing so. Circularity must therefore take place at every scale, from materials, parts, and buildings to education and policy at the higher level. Today, we witness both a thorough loss and a renewal of craftsmanship. Many traditional skills are fading away, yet new forms of skillful making are emerging through digital production, advanced materials technology, and computational design. Guided wisely, these tools can transform the culture of making rather than destroying it. We can learn from traditional practices that achieved more with less, while embracing technological craftsmanship that enables precision, efficiency, and creativity. To build sustainably means to work together, to stay curious, and to design with social responsibility and with imagination for sufficiency. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Atalay Franck. We will have a few minutes if anyone wants to ask any questions, to go any further. Does anyone want to ask a question? Yeah, so maybe I can ask the first question. From what I've understood, you're there until next month. I was wondering what you're the most looking forward to, or what are the next steps of your stay in Japan?
Well, until so far, everything was so exciting, and I'm so full of ideas, inspirations, and I'm sure it will continue this way. So this is just part one. I have a part two in a different region in Hokkaido, in Sapporo, and then I will go to Tokyo and Tokyo region. So I'm looking forward to continuing this excursion and explorations in this beautiful setting.
Amazing. Thank you so much. If there is any further questions, otherwise we can say that we are ending the webinar now. Thank you so much for joining, and we hope that you enjoyed the webinar and that you got a new perspective on sustainability, architecture, and education as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.